I'm very happy now to hand the floor over to Audrey, who's going to really focus and share expertise on social media use, increasing the visibility of this campaign. Audrey, I think it's fine if people put up hands, interrupt you, ask questions, all of that. Perfect. Just a very practical comment on that. So we're going to record this session. We're going to share it with all national associations, make sure it's available, because this is really just some very good insight in how you can build your campaign. Because we are, Audrey is mic'd up and this is being recorded, whenever you have a question, we will just circulate the microphone, so the recording has good quality. So raise your hand, we give you the microphone, you ask a question, and we go on. Okay? Perfect. So Audrey, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, so hi everyone. Just before I start, really don't hesitate to interrupt me, or if I'm too slow, or if things are not detailed enough or too detailed, don't hesitate. Happy to spend more time on some subject. I wasn't sure the level of everyone, so to say, the level of knowledge that you have on digital social media, so yes, we are pretty much flexible. So, as I said at the beginning, I'm working for Iris Sports, which is a German company, and we are kind of the research partner of Europe Active. We did a social media monitoring project for last year, Be Active Day, with them, and the team here kindly asked us to come here today and to present you this workshop, mainly to help you set up your social media activities, and in this sense, promote and spread the word about the Be Active Day campaign. So in a nutshell, I think that when you start a campaign, there is two things that are really important to know. The first thing is to know the tools, the platforms, but also a little bit the market where you are in terms of social media usage. And the second thing, as some of you already mentioned, is to know very well the audience, the people that you want to reach, the people that you want to target. So this is why I'm going to start with an introduction about social media usage, the different use of the platform depending on the different countries. And we will have also specific slides for all of your countries. And we can maybe discuss your current footprint versus the potential of the market. We will then go through the basics for social media, the hashtags, the influencers, how things work, but also we try to give you some more tips per platform specifically. And then we'll finish with some further strategic insights, like using user-generated content, UGC, paid media, anything that could help you to really have all the keys in hand to have a successful campaign in your country. So I'll just quickly introduce you Iris in 2 slides. It's not going to be long, just so that you understand what we do. So we are a media company, market research company, and we have 4 main domains of expertise. We do digital services like digital consulting, as I'm basically doing today. But we also do a lot of market research, economic impact study, fan surveys on a global scale. But our core business, the way we started the company, is that we started doing media monitoring. And I don't know if some of you are familiar with the term media monitoring. But for example, when you watch a TV match on television, you see a lot of sponsors with a lot of different visibility, different activations. So what we do is that we monitor, analyze all this visibility and provide sponsorship value in return so that people understand the return on investment that they have, either for an event, for a specific day, like we have here with Europe Active, or also for sponsors in general who want to know what he gets in return to what he spends. And we have a last domain of expertise, market intelligence, since we are always trying to improve and create database with all the information that we gather from our different clients. We have now this market intelligence area, which a little bit will group all the other services, but is meant to be a big database and mainly to consult big clients that we have. So we work with a lot of different group of organization people, mainly with a lot of federations and organizations. We work with big federations like FIFA, but we also work with some smaller organizations or federations like the World Curling, what else? The FISU, the International University Sport Federation. A lot of sponsors, as I say, but also we collaborate with big agencies in Europe, but also in Asia and on other continents. That's just to present you very quickly what we do and who we are. So you might sometimes ask yourself the question, why is social media so important? And I think that when you see figures like this, when you look at the social media usage over time, and here, for example, in Europe, you can't deny that social media is just simply part of our daily lives now. And as you also said before, this is really almost impossible to avoid social media nowadays if you want to have effective communication. So just in Europe, just some numbers, 72% of the population use social media, and the daily time spent is even 2.5 hours, so really huge numbers, and it's continuously growing. So we even see probably a 10% still increase by the end of 2022. So definitely this is a path you can avoid, and social media is obviously the most easy but also the most efficient way to engage people and get into the conversation with everyone. Just some more numbers to put things into perspective. Facebook now 2.9 million global users over the world. YouTube 2.5, so not far from Facebook. YouTube is really becoming big. It's actually the #1 platform now around the world. I don't know if you were aware of this. And then we've got other platforms, so Instagram, 1.5 billion, Twitter, LinkedIn, a little bit less, and newcomers like TikTok. Some of you might ask themselves also if they should also consider TikTok in their new communication strategy. So I also wanted to take the opportunity to show you some numbers about TikTok in case this could start the conversation around the future strategy. Daily time spent per platform, most of them 30 minutes, even more for YouTube. And you've got also the details for the age group in case you want to check that later. We will also provide you with the presentation after the workshop, so you'll have all the details. Something important to know also when you start planning is that every generation consumes differently. So you can't talk to someone that is 15 the same way you talk to someone that is 45, for example. So all the the youngest people, they are all on TikTok, but also on YouTube. Do you know that YouTube is the most used platform for this age group, or is it a surprise for you, for example?
Makes sense. We're more surprised in which group we
Yeah, now. Yes, I think we could say that we are all millennials, probably, no? So, platform most used are Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, obviously. LinkedIn might be also very interesting for you to concentrate on, depending on the target audience. And for older people, it's more about Twitter. So I just mentioned TikTok. It's maybe not a wide subject for today, but just also to give you some insights here. TikTok is really becoming big, not only for the generation Z, the younger, but what we see is that it becomes also very significant now for the millennials, the middle-aged people. Whereas Facebook, probably not a surprise to you, but it's also still decreasing amongst the younger age group. So if you're still wondering which platform you should use, concentrate on Instagram, Facebook, still the main platform, obviously, but TikTok, YouTube, also very important now. So it's also super important to consider that starting a social media campaign will also help you at an organizational level, in the sense that it will certainly grow your brand reputation. Next to the fact that it will build the community, help you to engage with people, it will help you to grow your brand reputation. And if you're not sure what your target group really is, this will also help you maybe step by step to find and reach your target group. So what we want to do here is to go one by one in your country and check your current followership versus the platforms that are the most popular in your country. So I hope this is interesting to you. And if we start here, my first assumption when I looked at your social media platform was that the outreach was currently very different. Most of you have a strong presence on Facebook, but some of you don't have YouTube, for example, or almost no followers on YouTube. So some of you also have a presence on LinkedIn, others don't. So it would be worth, I think, discussing here also if you have doubts and if you want to have advices on the different platforms. So I don't know if at this stage if some of you want to speak out, but I think that this could be interesting also to exchange and check what platform you're targeting and which one you're hesitating to target, maybe.
Just a quick comment. You can see there's no records for Slovenia or Bulgaria. Slovenia, obviously, we are aware of body fit, but we were focusing on national association level. That's why you don't see anything there. That's the main thing, and the same for Bulgaria. We are not tracking clubs, or in this case, club operators, but national association, and that's why no records were found in the end.
And we are actually communicating in the
Sorry to interrupt.
Facebook.
Yeah, it's better with the microphone.
The groups.
We are actually communicating with within a Facebook group.
Okay.
That is why we don't have a social media profile yet.
Yes.
Right.
That's it. Yes.
So are you considering the other platforms, or are you mainly gonna communicate on Facebook?
For now, for the project, definitely.
Right.
For the project, definitely, yes, on the other platforms. I
Okay.
mean, mainly Facebook and Instagram, but also TikTok.
TikTok, right. Interesting. Maybe I can just go one by one and we can discuss the situation per country. So here I have listed the most used social media platform in the Netherlands. And you see YouTube clearly number one, used by 90% of the population, followed by LinkedIn. That was really interesting to us. And when we compare with your current, let's say, followership, It's actually not so bad because you do have followers on LinkedIn, Instagram, similarly, and Facebook. So, to me, you are on good track. You could consider TikTok, maybe, and YouTube, question mark. I know that YouTube is maybe a more difficult platform to post on because it requires filming and sometimes editing, but I would definitely consider it.
Can I just share, sorry, a small note? This session is being recorded, so whoever wants to speak or ask something, just let me know and I will share the microphone. Like this.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so the presentation will be shared afterwards. I see people taking pictures, but we'll send all of this to you, no worries. So I understand that YouTube is the biggest platform, so I presume this will be a similar picture across countries, but how relevant is it for the type of campaign that we're running? Because I think, well, depending on your activity, the use case for these platforms change.
Yeah.
Because I expect, and I think the Netherlands is actually active on a lot of platforms and quite successfully so, but I expect we'll see a very low percentage for YouTube for all associations, including Europe Active.
Right.
So should we see that for the campaign?
In my view, this is really relevant, YouTube, since the sport people are very keen on watching videos. That they would easily go in the platform and watch videos.
Can you share something about it?
I would say about the YouTube, what is the role in the marketing mix? It helps to the website and the SEO, search engine optimization. So YouTube can help me not directly, but indirectly.
It's going to be an interesting session.
Sorry, if we wanted to include YouTube more because of these data that you're showing us, what would you suggest? How do we approach it from the content side for the project?
So I have some slides later. Maybe we can touch base again on this subject, but it doesn't need to be super well edited videos all the time on YouTube. It can be very authentic and very straightforward. What's this? It's next door. Okay, great.
No, that's not the reason.
So I suggest we go back to your question later because I have information as, for example, what's the optimal length of the video, how the content should look like, how the algorithm works later. Okay, then for Italy, pretty much the same picture, except that LinkedIn is a bit more down in the ranking. Currently, you are a lot on Facebook, a little bit less on the other platforms. So definitely also YouTube and Instagram here should be really pushed. Czech Republic, same, moreover. YouTube being huge, twice more than Facebook, as you can see here. Also very much on Facebook currently, a little bit on Instagram, so definitely you could consider all the platforms. I had Ukraine, but there is nobody here. So Bosnia-Herzegovina, Facebook, still number one. We didn't see YouTube in the first row of the rankings, but maybe if we do another research, we could find more information if you are hesitating to go more on the platform.
No, I got it right. It's Facebook.
Yeah. But Instagram also, no, not so far, so something. Slovenia. So here, as I said, we don't have the comparison with your platforms, but I think that's going to be probably helpful if you're launching the platforms. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram being the first ones. Bulgaria, same. So this is just what I wanted to show you in terms of market potential, just to set the scene a little bit and give you some perspective on how you could develop all these platforms. So now I'm going to go a little bit more into the details and review the tool set for social media, so to say, so that you can work on how to develop the campaign. So why you should use a hashtag, and specifically why you should use the Be Active Day campaign. I guess all of you know how a hashtag works. If not, I'm happy to explain, but it works like a link. It's super helpful to start taking part into a conversation. So it increases engagement. It works like a multiplicator. It also helps to build the brand awareness. And here I think we're all keen on increasing the awareness of the Be Active Day campaign. But it also helps to show that you support a cause or a project. So here we put the example of the International Women's Day. If you use the hashtag, the specific hashtag, you show that you support the cause, the issue, that you care about something. And last thing is that using a hashtag help you help people to find you, because your organization might be not very well known, but people clicking on the hashtag and watching the posts that are related to a hashtag might find you also this way. So the more you use a hashtag, the better you promote the campaign, the brand, the project, and the better you show the support also for the project. Very basic maybe for some of you, but I think that's good to review the basics also. Yes?
Yes, no, I had a question on this, because this was discussed outside when we were having the breakout sessions. Because, I mean, this is a European-wide campaign. Be Active Day, clearly, I mean, it's an English hashtag. It might not work everywhere. So how should we go about still having that European dimension? Or how do you make sure it remains one campaign if you start translating and changing the hashtag? Like because you've worked with some bigger players,
yeah.
I'm sure they encounter a similar challenge at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So how was the best way about this for Be Active Day?
So clearly the one and single hashtag that should always be used is Be Active Day, but then it works also to help to use it in conjunction with other hashtags. But these hashtags need to be relevant to your topics, of course, and specific also to your country, your languages. But in terms of making the campaign always unified, I would always include at least the main campaign hashtag in every post, even if it's in English.
Yes, yes. No, I want to open the floor here, because I'm wondering how you guys see this working. Because I think for your own posts, and we briefly touched on this, for your own posts you can do hashtag Be Active Day and then have another one in your language. But how does it go wider? Because actually the guys who are going to create the real traffic are the operators, are the partners, are everybody involved in this campaign. So how can this work? Is the guidance similar there, that if I am an operator in Slovenia and I'm part of Be Active Day and I want to put that on my social media channels, do I do a hashtag Be Active Day and then a lovely Slovenian translation of it that I of course don't know? So is that how we should approach this? Or
Yeah, so I think that the answer is that it depends on the platform. So I have some guidance here. If you use Facebook, you shouldn't use more than 1-2 hashtags. So I would use Be Active Day and another specific hashtag for your country. Instagram is different. You can have many. YouTube also. But what is important also is to do some research beforehand in order to find the right hashtags. And that's also what I wanted to show on these slides. There is ways to find the right hashtags so that the algorithm promotes your content the best way as possible. So if you go on Instagram, for example, when you tag a hashtag, they always give you suggestions for other hashtags to use in the post. Same on LinkedIn. You can always try to discover new hashtags. That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is to use websites or apps that helps you to find the relevant hashtags that will create the most engagement for your post on your country. So this is one example here, hashtag #IfIMe. I don't know if you know it, but you can type a hashtag. It gives you the popularity, the trends, and it gives you also the most related hashtags. So, for example, for Be Active Day, COVID popped up because I think it's all over the place. But Europe Active Week of Sports, Be Alive, Sport, Fitness, all hashtags that would work well if you use them in conjunction with Be Active Day in your post. It even gives you an indication about the languages, the countries, it's very small, but the use from the last weeks. And something that I wanted to mention is that you should always be careful about the spelling of the hashtags, because if you put a capital letter or a dot at the end or whatever, it might confuse the algorithm, and then your content is less well referenced. So yeah, it's super important to be consistent with the use of the hashtags and apply a try and error. Can you say that in English? Yes, try and error method. So you try, and if the hashtag doesn't work, you try another one until you find the right combination for your post. But tools like this could be really easy tools to have to find good hashtags.
Well, I have a question just from the point of view of the user. If we use as a national association the general hashtag Be Active Day,
yes,
then all our followers will get information from whole Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But if we use, for example, combination, so we say use 2 hashtags, one will be the Be Active Day, which is the general one, and the second one will be the national one, then the followers could get a bit less traffic on the wall, but will get the correct traffic.
Yeah, I think
because otherwise we will lose in a lot of posts and everything. So if we really want them to follow the hashtags, then we have to also work with the national level.
Absolutely, yeah. And the algorithm will like it more as well, and your content will be better referenced in your country, your target group. So that would make absolute sense, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, a couple of points from my side. First one, in your previous question, Lucas, in terms of how operators can engage and use this, I think, at least this is for me, and of course, Audrey, please confirm as well. I think we need to show some consistency. And if we are saying that we have, 75 partners, the message should be very clear that Be Active Day is the hashtag they have to use, on top of what Jana said, of course, of having something national. But to be able to effectively track everything, I think they need to know that it's Be Active Day as well, and that's the main point. And then the other point I wanted to ask, it's in terms of the spelling variants. Like, is it that for how successful your post can be, or let's say, for example, in Europe Active's role of tracking the social media activity, does it affect if we, for example, we have the hashtag Be Active Day all in capitals, but then let's say that one partner is doing it in lowercase, another partner half in capitals, half in lowercase. Does it pick up the same, or how does it work?
It's being diluted this way. It's not picked up the same. And as you say, it's also more difficult than for the campaign members to track a campaign if too many hashtags are used. So I think that at the end, the goal is also for you all then to know the reach of the campaign. If you're talking to different sponsors, for example, you need this information, so the more consistent, the better for everyone. Okay. So it's important to post, to understand the audience, the content that you want to do, but it's also always important to track and monitor. So part of the basics that you should know on social media are the different key performance indicators, the KPIs. So again, let me know here if it's too basic, but the most important KPIs are impressions, followers, growth rate, likes, comments, engagement rate, sorry. But we could also look into conversion KPIs like click-through rates, average watch time for YouTube videos, and customer satisfaction could even be a KPI that you could consider when you track a campaign. Look at the review, calculate the satisfaction score, so that's also ways that you have to calculate a return on investment of a campaign and even report to any third party. So I heard from before that most of you work with influencers, ambassadors, but here again I wanted to emphasize again on the importance of setting up an influencer strategy. Nowadays they're even called creators on YouTube and TikTok. So why you should consider an influencer marketing? To me it's just super important because an influencer has a niche, it has an active engagement. You know that if you work with them you're gonna reach your target, the people you want to speak to. But also people like influencers because they trust influencers. So if the influencer promotes your organization, your events, people will automatically have trust in your events, and it's really good for a campaign to have good basics and and start on solid grounds. So influencers can be paid or not paid. It's a very useful tool, so to say, to use in communication. In terms of inventory, also quite basic slide, but of course you can post text, images, videos on all platforms, but there is also specific tools that you can use, like live streaming or Reels. Do you all know Reels, what this is? It's a short video based on music. Music is very important when you post Reels. So I'll show, it's on another slide. I'll show you some. Oh, sorry, I'm going too fast. Reels are super important nowadays, but you have to know how to create Reels. So the inventory that you want to create for your campaign has also to be defined a little bit in advance, since some tools might be a bit more difficult to prepare or to use than others. And here I think that Europe Active can also support you in case you need any guidance on different type of content that you want to create for the campaign. LinkedIn, blog posts. LinkedIn is really good also for communication because you can ask questions to people. Same on Twitter, you can organize polls. I don't know if this is something you're already using, but it's a great feature. GIFs also are quite cool to use now. You probably all know GIFs, but that's very short videos, being humoristic, very fun stuff to have in hand. And TikTok, we a little bit discussed the subject earlier. TikTok is useful to reach to a very young target group, but more and more to a less young also target group. So TikTok is also very interesting to look after. Here I wanted to show you maybe some optimal video lengths that we have analyzed for the different platforms. In case you're wondering sometimes, oh, I want to post videos on Instagram, but I'm not sure how long they should be. So Instagram is 12 seconds on average, the optimal length of video. Facebook a little bit longer, Twitter 34 seconds, and YouTube approximately 5 minutes, because people spend more time on YouTube than on the other platforms. You might also wonder how many posts you should do per day or per week. During an intensive period pre-event, you can even go 2-3 posts per day on Facebook, Instagram, even more on Twitter with short captions, so Twitter is easier to post, I think. YouTube, by itself, it requires more resources, so 1 per day. And LinkedIn, we don't recommend more than 2 per week. So that gives you maybe some guidance for your plans. So as people have a different way of consuming content depending on the platforms, it's also worth knowing on which day and at what time it is best to post on each platform. Oh, you had a question?
Yeah, well, I wanted to come back to the YouTube bit, because I'm still wondering, so 1 post a day and it needs to be a longer video, but I mean, this is at its core a marketing campaign. So it really is just spreading that, as the others have said, you need to create the buzz. So it's the biggest platform, it's clearly important, but should we use it? Should we invest in it? Should we?
Yeah, I was also wondering about YouTube. I don't use it personally, but I have a lot of friends who do, so who are Gen Z millennials. I wonder what outweighs what. So spending resources into creating enough content and having people who have the content, because I think I know what is watched on YouTube, and I think that's quite a lot of effort unless you're already an influencer, and it's quite different from what we do.
It is, yeah.
So I wonder if it's maybe worth focusing on, it's a question, is it worth focusing on the platforms that we all have and trying to do those better, rather than maybe getting lost in like YouTube or TikTok's the same. It seems really easy, everybody can do it, but I think for you to actually gain followers and interests, it's a good point. I feel it's different.
If you have to start somewhere, for sure you probably won't start with YouTube. But if you already have a solid footprint on the other platforms, it's worth considering YouTube. But as you say, if you start, I guess Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are a good platform to start with. It's a different bar game. That's very true. So regarding Twitter, the best day and time you should plan your Twitter post on Monday, because Twitter remains a news source. And most popular times for people to watch Twitter are in the morning. YouTube, a little bit different. People tend to watch it more during Thursday or Friday evening, and rather mid-afternoon until late afternoon. mainly we think because people are using YouTube during their free time. It's not like Facebook where they just go check something, go back to what they were doing. YouTube, they spend more time and they have to have free time to watch the platform. Facebook would post on the beginning of the week, Monday, and then a little bit on the Friday and Saturday. As I said, Facebook people just go check and don't spend so much time at every check they do. So you could aim for posting during the day, from the late morning until mid-afternoon. Instagram is obviously becoming increasingly influential. People are a lot on Instagram, so the message is simple. You can post all day on Instagram. It doesn't matter so much. If you have to pick up days, 1/2. But yeah. Okay. And now I'll try to go a little bit more in the details on how to set up your platforms, what the important things are, so that you can have an optimization of your outreach. So what is important on Instagram? The first thing is to make sure that you have a catchy profile bio with a whole description so that people understand directly in which category you're playing. And it should also ideally show a little bit already your brand personality. And of course, the link of your website. And something that most people do, they use tracking website like Bitly, if you know it, that they're incorporated in the link of their website, so that then they could also check who visited their website from Instagram. So something also very useful to use. You can even add emojis or special character in the bio that will help people also to engage with your content. As said before, there is new features on Instagram that are working very well, like Reels. From our research, we showed that the average reach and the average engagement per post for Reels are really much higher than the other type of content. The good thing with Reels is also that it is shown to non-followers, which is not the case for your feed photos or videos. It's only shown to your followers. So Reels go over the world. But in all, what is important is actually to have a content variety. So not only post Reels all the time, but also post the other type of content. That's the way the algorithm will maximize your reach and your engagement over time. For Facebook, same content variety is super important. Posted a lot of different type of content. We know that the average engagement rate is higher for videos. So don't hesitate to post videos on Facebook, but still consider the other type of content to maximize with the algorithm of the platform. Something very important also is the visuals for every platform, but still also for Facebook. So make sure you have a very nice profile picture that looks pro, very nice cover image with the main messages that you want to relay, high quality pictures, stuff like this that seems basic, but sometimes not so easy to implement if you, for example, don't have a designer in-house. The About section also on Facebook is very important because that's where most of people will go when they want to know a little bit more on your company. From our research, we found out that most of the time people don't even go on the website to find out more. They go on Facebook in the About page. So super important to have an About page that is well documented with a general description, the mission of the organization, even the awards or the milestone that you had. It will give the audience a sense of what your page represents. Twitter, same message here. Always try to have very high quality images, the main messages, the logo also very recognizable. Quite straightforward, I think. So Twitter is obviously all about creating and encouraging conversations, but it's also sometimes difficult to know how to phrase things on Twitter, I think, because a lot of people post a lot of content, and sometimes it's a bit difficult to stand out from the crowd on Twitter. So here I have just listed some very essential things to know, I think, when you post on Twitter. So always show your brand value, your personality when you post. Be original, don't post always the same tweet over and over, try to be a bit creative. Be human, super important on Twitter, so don't try to make too complicated text. Go with the jargon of your country, be very, very easy. And last thing is be sincere, because you always want to build trust, and there's a lot of fake news also on Twitter, so the more sincere, the more human you look, the better. Other additional tips, use hashtags, also use visual content on Twitter. There's so many text, sometimes if you have visual, it catches people's attention better. Post at the right time, as we saw before. Also use mention. The more mention you use in your post, the better also the algorithm will promote your content. And GIFs also work now very, very well on Twitter. You all know what the GIFs are, right? Yeah. We never know. Something also very useful that we recommend is to use lists on Twitter, just to get your feed organized. That sometimes there's just a bit chaos in all the conversation. So you could decide to create this list and organize the topics. If you do a lot of fitness video and yoga video, if you want to have specialists for your partners, that's quite good to have also. Polls also on Twitter work super well nowadays, so don't hesitate to do polls on Twitter, but also on other platforms. It's good to gather feedback, opinion, and simply to get in touch sometimes with specific people. It's also a useful way to get people emails or information. We'll see that later, but if you doing email marketing, polls are also useful to get contact details from people. And now we come to YouTube maybe. So a lot of people ask us, but what should I post on YouTube? Do I really need to have blicky shiny videos all the time? How long should it be? And the reality is that actually the YouTube algorithm doesn't really matter. It doesn't really favor a particular type of format. What he cares about is really what people watch, what they don't watch, how many time they spend on which videos, what they like, what they don't like. So YouTube has become a research engine, a little bit like Google, as you probably know. So it works with keywords. So you have to know, if you work with YouTube, which keywords are adapted to your audience and your content. You have to do keyword research. This is what I have here on this slide. Something that you always should do with YouTube before you post any content is to use the toolbar menu and type your keywords and see what comes up, because this will give you a lot of information about what people in your target audience will like to see or like to watch. YouTube also work a bit differently in the sense that they have their own YouTube discovery systems. So YouTube promote YouTube content. So sometimes it's different for other platforms like TikTok. You're able to repost the TikTok content on every other platforms. YouTube really want to promote its own content. So you have to work with YouTube itself in order to optimize your content. And having said that, YouTube also is meant to be visual. So something super important if you post videos is to create thumbnails. You all know what a thumbnail is. I'm not sure if my English says it well, but
Is your back together is a good or a bad example?
yeah, I would say middle. No, this is very small, the text. So the text is too small, there's no images. You don't know which type of content corresponds to what. So I would do, for example, for all yoga video, I would have a yoga logo and then just one or two sentence, well, text messages. Yeah, could be better. But yeah, thumbnails is already great because you can be creative. It has to catch people's attention, so it's very important on YouTube. And also something to know is that the titles and the keywords on YouTube have to be the same or have a link so that you have a good referencing on YouTube. So YouTube thumbnails, titles, and keywords are super important if you want to work with YouTube discovery systems. Yeah, I have all the details for YouTube. It's good to have playlists, obviously, a trailer at the beginning that plays automatically when people enter your page, and also consider captions, but that's more work, obviously, and resources. But we know that now most people watch social media platforms without sound. So if you have videos, if you can add captions, text on the videos, that's ideal. And YouTube has automatic caption service, so you could even try that if that works well. So I didn't want it to go too in-depth for YouTube because it's actually, I think, the most difficult platform to optimize. But if you want to know more, happy to further discuss. Okay. So now I come to the last part actually of my presentation. Just wanted to give you some more insights in case useful. What people do a lot nowadays is to use user-generated content, so content that is created by other people without you having asking anything. But why this is useful? Because first, this is free. Of course, it grows your audience, and when people create things related to your content, automatically it helps you better understand your audience, because you know what they like, since they are creating things that are in relation to your project. It also creates ambassadors sometimes, and free ambassadors. And how you could enhance or make people create content for you. You could, for example, organize contests or giveaways, challenges. You probably all know the famous Coca-Cola with campaign, where people were incentives to make a picture of themselves with the Coca-Cola they want to share a Coca with. And this is probably the best well-known UGC campaign in the world. So I would encourage you also to challenge people, create contests, so that they are encouraged to create content that you can then yourself use on your platform. And this way you will also look more authentic, and yeah, people will simply engage more also with your content. So some of you, in conjunction with all the social media activities, are probably looking into email marketing, and there is ways also with social media to find or get people details information. You can use, for example, Facebook ads. You can have you can host free webinars, for example, on LinkedIn. Then people subscribe and you get their email, and at the end it creates a big database that you can use for email marketing. I recommend to use an email marketing tool. I have an example here. It's a bit small, but it's called Really Good Emails. This is really simple tools that you can use to create your email marketing campaign. Always start with a welcome email, because we know that the opening rate for an opening email is very high. And in terms of regularity, send emails regularly, but not too often, not to spam people too much. Any question on email marketing? Something also quite cool that I wanted to share with you is a tool called Appester. There's a lot of tools on the market, but this is just one example. So you can basically implement the tool on your website, and then it shows your social media posts, and it's also a way to do cross-promotion and have people visiting your website go to your social media. So you also think about cross-promotion. That's great also to increase the outreach of your campaign. We talked about email marketing. There is also other tools in the market that you can implement on your website. You see the little feedback section here. If you do an article, you add this to the article. People can interact, ask you questions. You can be creative here, but it's also a great way of knowing what people think about you or your campaign, and try to always improve and get feedback on what you do. Some of you also may wonder if they should go into paid media. I don't know if this is already the case for some of you, or if you're all only organic at the moment, but there is some pros and cons to paid media. Paid media allows you to a quick increase of engagement, likes, comments, KPIs. It also allows you to target a specific audience and gives you control over who sees what and when. But at Iris, we wouldn't recommend paid media too much, since it creates a little bit a vicious circle with the platform algorithm, in the sense that if you start paying and then you stop, most of the time you get downgraded by the platforms. So you could consider paid media, but you have to make sure that you have a budget allocated throughout the year that you can spend to paid media, in our view. And sometimes with paid media, the messages sounds less authentic, in the way also that people see when it's paid media. So it could a little bit sometimes damage the brand and the campaign if you abuse from paid media. So we would not recommend to do too much paid media, rather go for an organic growth, except maybe for ambassadors and influencers marketing, where you could consider a small budget, since this is proven to work and increase the reach of a campaign. Some people ask us also, but how do I go viral? Because you always see a lot of posts that out of the sudden go viral and you don't really know. There's not always an explanation, but there is things that you can do to try to go viral. As I said at the beginning, add captions to the videos, really important. Try to have specific tags, specific hashtags, be really specific. Collaborate with other pages, super important. Well, I guess you will all also collaborate, so that will also increase the reach globally. Share content, not just only post, but also sometimes share content from the other. Try to find niche group, that's always great. And influencers, creators, athletes are, as we said also during the different sessions, are great accelerators for a campaign. So general recommendations, I would say post consistently, but not too often. Try to tailor your approach. Don't stick to a plan because it was the plan, so try to adapt. Always engage with the community, respond when they have comments, ask them to share their thoughts, their feedback. And if you have time, I hope you have time, analyze the results. Always go back. It will allow also you to always have control on what you do. So monitor how your content perform and use analytical tools as much as you can. Some of them are a bit complicated, but the free tools of the platforms like Facebook for Business, it's not so complicated to understand, and it's good from time to time to check the statistics to see if you are on the right tracks. Okay, so that was my presentation, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate. You can open the floor. Okay.
Questions? Questions, guys? Anybody? Bound to be questions on social media, I'm sure. Yeah, you got one.
Maybe I have a question.
Yeah.
So, hello. Maybe if you have some.
Yeah, maybe just briefly introduce yourself as well.
Hi. I can also. There's not so many people in this room, so.
Until on the side,
maybe
on the top.
Sorry.
On the top. Yeah, just press one.
So yeah, if you have some. Okay, if we have some more minutes, maybe if you have a specific campaign, like little, because it's very interesting, but it's like more basic. So if you have some specific campaign, and if you can like maybe like some guerrilla campaign on social media that you had, specific for sports, and why you think it worked. And
so maybe just to. We are not a creative agency. We are more analyzing and doing statistics, and we know the theory, but we don't do campaigning. No, but I would need some time, but I could still find some example, of course, from our different clients. I guess this would take some time. So.
No, so yeah. Vojkovic from.
He can introduce himself.
Yeah. I think you forgot to do that.
Yeah. You need to.
Yeah.
Just introduce yourself.
Oh yeah, I'm also part of the Slovenian Fitness Association, Association of Ciferera. So.
So not just a random guy who.
Yeah.
No, brilliant. Happy to have you, Vojko. Brilliant. Yes. So I think for me. We're running a bit ahead of schedule, but I want to apply the information provided here to our campaign. And I think just going through that presentation, the first one is about that hashtag. So I think for me it's clear that we, if we want to be consistent and we really want to have this as a European campaign, it is about, one is Be Active Day, which is used consistently across all countries. And I'm looking at Carlos here, who is typing an email, but anyway, I see it as all caps. Be Active Day, all caps. Yeah, so hashtag day, Be Active, all caps, and then you got a national hashtag, which you can add to it. So it will be the use of 2 hashtags. There was a slide on the number of hashtags on different platforms, so if you want to use more, you want to use more, but I think as a baseline, I'm identifying the Active Day, all caps, and then a national hashtag, which is obviously linked to it, but I'm sure you'll find the right translation or the right edition, like you said, so it makes sense for the people who use it, and the content that follows from it is relevant as well. So I see that for the hashtags. Where I think we want to step forward for the campaign is the brand identity as well. So we have a brand guide, we've got a logo, we've got a collar, which is purple as the main collar. So how can we apply this more uniformly? We have had the examples from Bosnia and then from Macedonia as well, but you can see that they actually have quite a visual, the identity is quite different. So I think if we really want to have this European dimension of it and we're all running a similar campaign all together, we have to be more consistent on the use of the logo and the branding and the collar. So I don't know, Jamal, what your reaction would be, for example, to such a suggestion that it is, you already have the active brand, so using the collar, using like the fonts, all of that.
Yeah, I think that we should have something that's a commonality, and using the color is one of those things. So why not? My question will be more in a way that if we should post 1 or 2 times or more per day in this version, I think that maybe it's better that we focus on one platform that we are the most present on, because it's going to be a lot of work to prepare. For example, for 2 platforms, all those posts. And if we take like last 30 days, maybe before the event, for the maximum impact and post every day, it's a lot of work. So maybe focus on one platform would be the best way. Even if YouTube would bring more reach, we need time to build it, and we don't have that time.
Yes. So how do you guys see that? I think that makes sense, right? That YouTube for now, I mean, the resources are limited. What you can spend
if I can
on
add
this,
something.
yeah.
For example, for us, what works is that we know that if we have to post, or if we need to post some kind of information to the fitness sector or fitness instructors, it's good to use Facebook for us, because they are all there. However, when there was Be Active Day last year, we created Instagram because of the stories. So, and we could share it. So for this, it would be better the Instagram channel. So
Yes, no, I think there's the element of, like, in every country there's clearly a different use of social media. I mean, for the Czech Republic it was clear that Twitter is not the way to go. Yeah. But I think Jamal's point is very relevant in the sense that, and I think I see it as up to you, all national associations individually, which platform do I focus on? And I think, Jamal, you gave the example of last year, the number of posts you did and you grew it. Let's see what's possible.
But I think what also could work that there is several levels of communication. One is from the national association to the partners, and then to wide public, and plus the communication between the clubs and the public. So let's have as an information channel, for example, one, so that all the clubs partners know where to go, and then to motivate the people, motivate the clients, motivate the public, then use as much channels as possible, but use the same pictures or same brand, so that we can support the partners, the clubs, by the set of posts and pictures and photos and graphic materials that we all can, let's say, cover the Facebook and Instagram by violet color, because it's the color of the week or of the day. So that could work. That could work.
Does anyone want to speak up on that? Because I think it's how I'm seeing it as well, Jana, is that and this is where I think we have to, I mean, it's a workshop now, so we can have an open discussion, because we're working at different levels here. We're working in a wide geographical area, definitely. It's very complex, but I think there isn't that value in having that coordinated, more uniform identity, and that the fact that it's European, and it's the story you told, Jamal, about we're all together in this bigger initiative. And then I think one thing is the messaging, we're going to talk about that, but I think that the fact that it's about this very positive impact on society, we keep it open, all of that, we'll discuss about that. What I'm wondering now on a more practical level, so we, as Europe Active, as a coordinator of this project, we have resources. So we got the logo that has been developed, we got the brand guide that has been developed, that will be made available to you guys as soon as possible. But I think learning from what the partners have presented, we also could have this file sharing system, maybe more active than we've had in the past. We can look at the platform. I'm happy to talk about, should it be Teams, Dropbox, whatever, but that we, from our side, make these things available to you. And then in the second instance, you guys incorporate it into whatever you're developing and make it accessible to the partners you're working with. So, and of course, it will not be, I mean, it doesn't have to be, I don't see it as like strictly the same, but you do have that common element, and you do have that common like campaign. So, I don't know if that makes sense to you, that we are rather, I think the color is quite a self-evident one, that we're consistent on the logo, the color, and the hashtag, and I think then you already cover, I mean, you've got some core elements, and then we will try to make available as much as we can, based on the experience from what Zamal was presenting, like pre-prepared templates, posts, all of that you can easily tweak, adjust, adapt, and make available at either for yourself or for the partners that you're working with. Does that make sense? Does anybody want to add to that or question or?
Yeah, I don't really like.
But you do.
Thank you. I wanted to say that all the materials that we prepare for our campaign we'll make available for all the partners here, so you can use it from the pictures and the posts and everything. And if you find something useful, then why not go ahead? It's going to be adapted with the colors and the logos, and you can maybe just modify a little bit and use it. Why not?
My question for you guys as well is, as Lucas was saying, we have certain resources prepared for you, but as Jana was mentioning, it's a two-level thing here. One is the resources that we prepare for you, and the other one is the resources you are planning to use to engage your network, the clubs, etc., etc. My question for you is, the resources that we prepared, is that something that you could reuse to engage your network, or you will be looking into something more specific? Because then it's a matter of how do you adapt those resources, and then for us to provide you with the working files so you can amend them, you can translate, etc., etc. So that's my question for you, and I think that's really, really important, because for us it's like we prepare the resources for you, but at the same time you need to engage a network. So it's a two-step process. Does that make sense?
If I'm correct, we are talking about two different types of content, right? The one for the partners and one for the promotion and for the general public. In my view, I think that 90% of the content is basically the one for the public. Yeah. Am I right? Yeah. So we should focus on having that on a higher level, or more of it. But the part that goes to the partners is more informative, so they can use it. But majority of it is going to be the posts for the public.
Well, just I definitely agree that the target group is the public, but if you count with your key players, which are the clubs, they will definitely want to use their corporate identity with our tools. So if we say, you can use these pictures, these photos, and please use this logo, these hashtags, plus this, and use this font, then it's, then you just kick it off, and you will see what the sector will do, how they will react. Because this is our experience. We provided them with all the pictures, all the graphics, but only a part of them really used this, because they wanted to talk with their corporate language to their clients. So that's it. Their own colors. So we just give them the guidelines. Just do this, which is logo, hashtag, whatever, dot. And then play as you want. Or if you want to use our, then definitely you can.
Yes, I think we'll find a challenge there, but I think what would work clearly well in Bosnia and Macedonia, but again it might be different in other countries, is to have those pre-prepared posters, have those pre-prepared materials that, all right, maybe the bigger organisations will be very sceptical and say, look, no, this needs to be my corporate identity, all of that, but there's a lot of smaller players, maybe individuals and so forth who can use it. What I think, so because we got these resources from previous projects which are still relevant, and we will update them and make them available as soon as possible. So there's a campaign guide, there's a communication guide. You look at it at your own time, you go through it. If there are questions, you can contact all of us. But then what is most relevant for this discussion is that you do have the logos in the right formats, all of them. You've got the brand guides about how to use it, how to not use the logo, and so forth. But then what we have provided, and I think what we will provide again, is to have that input for like or the materials ready for LinkedIn, Instagram posts, all of that. And I think this is where it goes that you, then in a second instance, provide this to your partners and the general public. What I see happening here, because well, Europe Active has a role to play, but you guys are actually doing incredible work, and I'm happy to hear that there is this willingness to share. So I think we just have to, as Europe Active, we can set up this platform and make sure that there's a library creator and that you guys can share your materials, and you can all just, use each other's materials, basically. But we have this common purpose, and we want each other to do a good job. So I see it more as that we as Europe Active create the platform, make sure that the right people have access to it, but you guys provide content as well. I do see it as this next step to have more of this campaign identity on posts across different countries. I think if we are genuine about the story of a European campaign, and at its core, it very much is a European campaign in support of the European Week of Sport, I think we should try to get that more consistent branding. So we'll provide the materials for it, but you have to apply it. And then again, we'll see to what extent it works. I know that if you're working with certain players, they might not be up for it, but I think a lot of them will be. So that is a bit of how I see it now. So I see it as an action for Europe Active to provide this platform, or the tool, and to make these resources available, and then make sure that you guys can share whatever you have and help each other. So I don't know if there's anybody who wants to comment or sees it differently or anything.
Maybe just to add on top of that, what we've been doing in the past is basically to provide you with several emails with links to access them and download the materials. But maybe this is an approach that you will prefer, to have like a common platform where everything's stored in there.
And you guys have access to it, and everyone can comment, everyone can add materials, etc., etc. So if this is the approach, let's go for it. Let's have some consistency on that, but let's get out of the meeting with a clear message on how we do that, and then we don't have the question, okay, why I didn't receive the email, but okay, it's not an email. In the end, it's a platform. So that's one of the points, and the other one as well. It's the URL that you guys will use. Obviously, the idea is to use the branding the color scheme that we have with the primary and secondary colors. Obviously, we know that you have your own corporate colors, etc., that might fit better or worse with the campaign color. But my question is as well if you see this page as part of your own website, or if you are planning to do something completely separate. That's something that we would like to know as well, and to have a better understanding.
Yeah, so you mentioned the website there, Carlos. So I see a bit of similarity here. We got currently we have a website, beactiveday.eu, which serves as a landing page because we, as Europe Active, to our stakeholders, and we work with EU institutions, we work with WHO. So we disseminate this URL, beactiveday.eu. And on that, if you go to beactiveday.eu, we're updating it. It's a bit outdated, so if you go there, be aware that there's going to be an updated version. So what we do is we have a very short introduction of what this is about, and then we actually invite people to go to your website, to your webpage, website, whatever. So I think there as well, we should make sure that there is a common element, that it all feels like it's connected, because it is. So that is something where I think for each of you, I think you have to look into this and see if this is something you want to host on your own website of your association. Do you want to set up a web page? It can be good to build content for your website, for example. I'm sure that a lot of national associations see this as something that they can have as a very active element of their website, but you can also just launch a separate one. I think this is something you need to look into as well, and then see how you link it to your own social media accounts. I think I had a chat with Audrey about this. I don't think it makes sense to launch separate social media accounts for your Be Active Day activities. I don't think we're at that stage yet where you would have enough followers who will follow you for a specific action. So the recommendation currently would be that everything that you do in terms of Be Active Day, you do it via your existing channels. And I think for the websites, that is something where the recommendation isn't that strong, but look into it. So, Antti, you're on the website. If you scroll down, yeah, so this is how we do it. And we'll update this. We'll make it look a bit more exciting. But so your logos are there, and everybody who is interested in Be Active Day via our activities will get to your page, will get to your website. So of course you will generate your own traffic. You probably will generate much more traffic on yourself, on your own, than we can do. But we have this as the main URL that we disseminate, and that leads to your websites and web pages. The point is, there need to be websites and web pages we can refer to, and they need to be properly branded. So that is something you guys, if you have a website, revisit it, look at the branding. If you don't have a website, I think it's quite straightforward. You will get the branding, and you can set it up as you want. And then again, we have that common link, and we have that European element in there. So I don't know if there's any questions on the website part there. We're all good. Yeah, does it make sense? Yeah, I see people nodding. Yeah, good. Are there any further questions for Audrey for now? I think that is part of a fringe conversation. If there are no further comments, Audrey, I want to thank you very much for your time, for your expertise.